Good evening. It's 6 o'clock and it is time for the September 1, 2021 regular meeting of the Holland City Council. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Byrd.
Present.
Peters.
Here.
Garcia.
Here.
Trethewey.
Here.
Arnshorst. Here. Corbin. Here. Hoekstra.
Here.
Raymond.
Here.
Mayor Box.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Wonderful, thank you. We're going to begin this meeting as this body has done for many years. First to focus our hearts and minds with prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And I would ask if you would please join us in prayer. This has been a difficult and stressful time for all of us, not just around this dais, but throughout our community and the world. We've been presented with many challenges, both far away and here at home. Sometimes we need to stop, take a deep breath, and take a moment to rest and listen. Please pray with me. Lord, thank you for instilling in me a deep and abiding faith. It guides me. It sees me through times of trouble. It corrects me when I find myself on the wrong road. I'm not as learned as some, I'm not as churchy as others, but my faith has never come from books or from a building. It was placed in my heart by you, and you've nurtured and grown that flame all my life. It's a faith that drives me. It's instilled passions for doing what's right, and passion to correct what is wrong. Together with that passion, you've also given me reason. Life is a constant oscillation between passion and reason, each reliant on the other. Unchecked passion becomes fanaticism, and passionless reason is bland, directionless. I often reach to you for help, to balance my passion and my reason, and you always provide guidance. Sometimes from those around me who I respect and trust, and other times through serendipitous epiphanies. This week, you gave me a quote from a homegrown philosopher, Max Dupree. I never had the privilege of meeting Mr. Dupree, but he's taught me much over the years. The quote appeared as a Google search result when I thought that I was searching for something else. It read, "The first responsibility of a leader is to define reality. The last is to say thank you. In between, the leader is a servant." I've spent a lot of time lately trying to define reality, seeking truth. It isn't easy these days. It probably hasn't been any day. Defining reality is reason over passion. And that's difficult when so much of our own perception of reality is driven by and often blinded by our passions. For years, I've had a second quote taped to my computer monitor so that I can see it every day. It reads, "Everyone has their reasons." It's an abbreviated version of a longer quote from the 1939 movie The Rules of the Game by Jean Renoir. The full quote reads, "You see, in this world, there's one awful thing, and that is that everyone has their reasons." Lord, as leaders, we're trying to define reality. Finding truth and understanding in the world around us is hard enough simply for ourselves. And it's infinitely more complicated by the fact that each of us has our own perception of reality. Each of us has our reasons. Each of us is driven by and can be blinded by our passions. I work hard to remember that in this world, everyone has their reasons. Sometimes I forget, so I ask for grace. Please extend me your grace. Forgive me when I fall short, and give me the strength to extend grace to others. We're all struggling to manage the constant oscillation of our own passions and reasons. Amid the hum, the noise, the cacophony of the oscillation of the passions and reason of those around us. As Max Dupree said, as leaders, our first responsibility is to seek what is real and what is right. It is a search to find the truth, to define reality. In that search, Lord, let me be a servant to those I represent, to those I work with and for and alongside. Let me serve you and the faith you have put in my heart. And let me do as Max Dupree said, to say thank you, to give thanks for the opportunity to lead, to serve, to work, to live out my passions, tempered by reason, and to extend grace to those around me and to myself when I fall short of my and your expectations, because everyone has their reasons. I pray for guidance, always searching for truth, doing my best to serve, and saying thank you. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next are our consent agenda items. These are considered to be fairly routine and have been previously reviewed by council as part of our packet. They will be enacted with one motion unless a member of the audience or a member of the council asks to have an item removed from the consent agenda and placed in its regular place on the regular agenda. But before asking for that, Kathy, would you please review the consent agenda for us?
4B, approval of minutes, August 18, regular council meeting, August 25, 2021 study session. 4C, oaths of office. 4D, section 18-27 of chapter 18, prohibited in specific places and at specified times, exceptions. Final service updated, correction, except as information. 4E, city clerk, claim filed against the city. 4F, Community Neighborhood Services, CDBG Program, 2020-21 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. Scheduled public hearing for September 15, 2021. 4G, Management and Administrative Services, Downtown Development Authority, Parking Lot Lease Renewals. 4H, Management and Administrative Services, Revocable License Agreement, Projecting Sign, 39 East 8th Street. 4I, Management and Administrative Services, Revocable License Agreement, Projecting Sign, 21 East 8th Street.
Great. Thank you, Kathy. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to have an item removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda? Seeing none, any member of council that'd like to have an item removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda? None there either. What is the pleasure of council in regard to the consent agenda?
Motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Moved by Trethewey. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Byrd. Any discussion? Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Byrd?
Yes.
Peters? Yes. Garcia?
Yes.
Trethewey?
Yes.
Arnshorst?
Yes.
Corbin? Yes. Hoekstra?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Mayor Box?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Thank you very much. Next item is public comment. Under the Open Meetings Act of the State of Michigan, every public meeting held by the City of Holland provides an opportunity for public comment. This gives you the opportunity to speak to us. This is your ability to communicate to us. We do not engage in discussion. We don't answer questions during this time, but you have the ability to speak on any subject that you would like to. We do limit the amount of time that you can speak to 5 minutes during our regular meetings, and you'll notice that there are 3 lights in front of me on the dais. There's a green light, a yellow light, and a red light. The green light means you're doing well on time. The yellow light means that you have 1 minute left, and the red light means that your time has expired, and we are strict about that. Having said that, is there anyone here who would like to address council at this time? If so, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Would you please state your name and address for the record?
Ken Freestone, 845 East 8th Street. Just wanted to say thank you for a couple of events that were over the last couple of weekends. The International Festival a couple of weekends ago was spectacular. It was just so much fun. It was great to hear all the music and see all the people in and out of there and the dancing that was going on and the fun that everybody was having. It was really, truly a great, diverse international festival. I also had a blast. I got a chance to play some music and teach some songs, and that was a lot of fun too. So it was just a great joy to have that. And I heard the food was great. I was busy. I had a table inside there showing off some of the ukuleles and other stuff that I was playing with. So, but then last weekend was this past weekend was the West Corps had their cleanup day. and it was great. The bad news is there was a lot of trash. The good news is there were a lot of places to go with it. So a lot of dumpsters were out there. Padnos was out there recycling electronics and metal, and Goodwill was there recycling corrugated. I personally was able to take care of all the foam that was there and got that all recycled. So it was a great day to clean up the neighborhood, but it was also very surprising to see all the old CRTs and the old TVs that were there. Several people said, I've had this in my basement, or I've had this on my shelf for a long time, looking for a place to go with it, because there was no charge to bring it there. So that was very helpful. But also thanks to the city for supporting that too. Through the sustainability department, they were able to support that. So it was a great day, great cleanup, and awesome volunteers. Amy and the team just did a great job in West Core neighborhood. So again, thanks for your support for that, and thanks for both of those events.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time? And would you please state your name and address for the record?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Doug Zylstra. I reside at 152 East 24th Street. I am the Ottawa County Commissioner for the City of Holland. As you likely know, the Ottawa County Health Department took the decision to issue a county-wide mask mandate a week and a half ago. The mandate applies to pre-K through 6, where the vast majority of those students are not currently eligible for the COVID vaccine. The order expires when we return to low risk, as defined by the CDC, or 60 days following the availability of the vaccine for those under 12. Currently, we are in high transmission risk, as classified by the CDC, with 27 cases per 100,000 and 11.9 positivity rate, both over the last 7 days. We need those numbers to be 10 per 100,000 and a positivity rate of 5% or less to be classified as low, and for the mandate to be lifted. As far as the board goes, we did not vote on it, nor will we, as we have no direct operational control over health department orders, whose power to make those orders comes from the MDHHS. Having said that, I support the amazing work the health department has taken these past 18 months, including this very targeted action to help protect the unvaccinated population and their school environment. However, more important than my personal opinion on the order, it's of highest importance for me that the health department, just as all other county departments, has the independence to use their delineated powers to act for the benefit of the Ottawa community without undue pressure from the board. In my opinion, efforts to take away that independence will have extremely negative short and long-term consequences. The decision to issue this targeted mask mandate was a difficult decision for the health department, but if we all work together, take the necessary precautions, hopefully this current spike will abate soon, and with ever-increasing vaccination rates, indeed be the last large reoccurrence of COVID-19 in our communities. As always, if you have any questions, please reach out at dzylstra@myottawa.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time? And would you please state your name and address for the record?
Ann Henriksen, Zealand. I'm talking about the ordinance that you passed in 2020. It's an illegal ordinance because it does not comply with the Michigan Constitution, and that will be met with a legal action, I believe. At the end of the ordinance, there is a statement, one sentence, an exemption, and that is for freedom of speech and religious freedom. Well, I want to discuss what's going to happen tomorrow. I happened to stop down at the Family Central bookstore that's opening a Bible bookstore here in Holland. It's unwelcomed, and for some reason they let me in just to see take a peek what it looked like. I'm excited that it's there. And the manager showed me a long email that was sent by a friend from someone else. And this was, he scrolled like 4 times of hate speech towards focus on the family. And it is because of the Southern Poverty Law Center has deemed focus on the family as hate. So we have an ordinance. And this bookstore is now in danger, and are you going to protect them? because this email was bringing a protest tomorrow against the store as it opens up from the LGBT community. I called Jeff Sorensen, who I have the highest respect for. I believe the way he managed and proposed this ordinance is commendable. He believes strongly in what he believes in, and he is an honorable man, I'll put it that way. I really enjoy who he is. He shared with me some of his life. We had a good conversation, and he respected me as well. I called him, and I said, do you know about this protest? He said, well, out on the lakeshore we'll have really nothing, is not associated with the protest. But I will be there because I want to confront Jim Daly, the CEO of Focus on the Family. And I said, well, why would you want to do that? And he said, because they're on the hate list of Southern Poverty Center, Law Center. I said, Jeff, do you know anything about them? No, he did not. We had a really good conversation, and he heard me, which I appreciate. I said, can you diffuse this protest? These are good people that are showing up tomorrow. From Colorado Springs, 1. 2, the people of Holland are so excited that the store is open, but we have an ordinance, and this ordinance says, all of this things that will happen to people that discriminate against LGBT. I'm telling you, this store will probably be the target of activism. He said he was going to make a statement on the Out on the Lakeshore today. I did not see it, I looked for it, but I did see something else, that the city of Holland contributed a video for his website. City of Holland, it was City of Holland production of the Centennial Park celebration open house. Did you know that? Did you finance that? Is that part of your ordinance? Listen, you got to take a look at what you said there. Are you going to protect religious freedoms? Are you going to stand up for maybe what you believe? Or are you just kind of going to look the other way of this illegal ordinance? Does not support the Constitution of Michigan. I'm going to be here until this thing slips out of here, and hopefully it will. Hopefully you'll understand what you're doing to this community. Did you mean to do this? I don't think you did. I think you consciously did the right thing, like you said in your prayer, the right thing. But now look what the fruit is. Maybe you want to reconsider the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time?
Well, a lot of material here. I'll send it, city manager, I'll send this in afterwards.
Just send it to the public comment
Yeah.
address, that's the best way to do
Yeah.
it.
Can I cut and paste, or do I use my own email? I mean, do I?
Either or.
You don't? Okay.
Great. Would you please state your name and
Logistics.
address for the record?
Yes. Bob Ashby, 967 Songbird Lane. I wasn't planning on doing anything tonight, but I went through the public comment for the agenda, and I saw like 19 out of 20 comments that were all the same, but they were worth responding to. So here I am. Holland's Climate Collaborative has repeatedly called for municipal accountability and transparency. The accusation by innuendo is twofold. Progress of the energy operations is suspicious, and that the council, BPW, and others are hiding their climate laziness from the collaborative and Holland residents. It follows that the only possible motive for such callousness is a willful disregard for our local health and well-being, as well as that of the entire world. I like transparency. I went to the collaborative's website and Facebook page. I noticed some interesting things. The website has no scientific studies or analytical reports of studies to support their claims. The Facebook page had links to reports, but all of them were from the United Nations or were based on IPCC data. I alluded to last time, the United Nations is profoundly political, and its models are woefully inaccurate. Don't get me wrong, it is every citizen's right to choose sources of information and share it. However, when such information is used in such a fashion as to seem universally accepted, that's a little different matter. Transparent science demands equal public treatment of all the evidence, even if it comes from peer-reviewed sources which are disparagingly labeled as science or climate deniers. All I could find was a party line. That brings me to the comment that all this needs to be a global society conversation. Presumably this is because our nation and society, to include Holland, no longer has the ability or right to analyze, consider, and make policy and political decisions grounded in our own self-interests, a function of a free people, without the permission of the power brokers in the rest of the world. As another commentator said, intentions are shown by results. Again, I agree. It reminds me of the climate history and political context that I spoke about before. If the claim that Earth is the warmest it has been since the Industrial Revolution is presented in order to instill fear and incite action, and it is found that the claim is wildly outside normal reality, then the intentions are more suspicious. Forest fires, for instance, are another good application of intentions logic. Anthropologic global warming enthusiasts love to talk about devastating East Coast, I meant West Coast, by the way, fires as predictors of Michigan and the entire nation. The only problem is that those prophecies are also based on information-starved assumptions. The reality is that, with notable exceptions, before the 1970s, when the green movement began picking up steam, foresters were doing quite well. The hammer fell when activists created a vast tinderbox by stifling logging, and undergrowth was left to pile up in order to save beetles and pretty weeds. Eventually, water shortages grew, and productive farmland languished, not simply because of normal cyclical dry times, but because vast amounts of water was diverted back to the ocean, away from the farmlands. Sounds like growing food shortage, doesn't it? Climate prophecy, and yes, I did say prophecy, is messy because climate modeling is messy. It claims to be predictive of the climate future, a future which no computer in existence or human operator alive can do. Holland has acted like a responsible adult so far in her energy management. Residents have fairly inexpensive power through clean and efficient system. There is no need to spoil more land by buying more vast swaths for solar fields. There's no need to be part of endangering more species of birds and disrupting ecosystems with vast plains of inefficient windmills.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment period. Next item on the agenda are written petitions and communications. In addition to providing an opportunity for in-person public comment, we also have an email address that is publiccomment@cityofholland.com. That's publiccomment@cityofholland.com. That is an opportunity for you to be able to send in written comments and communications to council. We do not read those at our regular meetings, but we accumulate them in between the regular meetings and then accept them into the record as part of our agenda in the regular meeting. So, what is the pleasure of council in regard to the written petitions and communications?
Motion to accept as information.
Moved by Trethewey. Is there support? Support by Byrd. Any discussion?
I would like to comment, and just to say that I appreciate that the letters to the strategic development team continue to go to both council and the SDT, and that's very nice. And I, just like Quincy, you always appreciate the gifts to the city. I appreciate people sending letters or emails or calling or coming to public comment. I love the civic engagement that Holland shows constantly.
Great. Thank you. Yes, Quincy.
I'd like to piggyback off of that as well. I agree, Nikki. This is something that, as a council, and I've mentioned this before, we're trying to get involvement, and this has been an awesome tool. This is one of the things, I guess, that came out of COVID. So I agree with Nikki. This is pretty awesome.
Great.
Getting that engagement.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is item 12E 6.1, gifts. Kathy, would you please review the gifts for us?
The city manager's office is pleased to report the following gifts. Downtown Group, Windmill Island Gardens, Holland Garden Club, Inc., $2,300. Public Safety Services, Police Operations, Battle of the Badges Program, in-kind donation, Meyer, gift card valued at $250. Public Safety Services, Police Victim Services Unit, Holland Professional Firefighters, $750. Public Safety Services, miscellaneous account, Kyle Egbers, Landon Hadley, and Owen, $28. Community Neighborhood Services, National Night Out Program, Red Rivet Hot Dogs, $75. Spice Boys, $168.21.
Great.
It is recommended that these donations be accepted with appreciation, credited to the appropriate account, and an expression of gratitude be forwarded to said donors.
Thank you, Kathy. What is the pleasure of council in regard to the gifts?
Motion to accept with appreciation.
Moved by Trethewey. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Byrd. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item, 12E 6.2, Downtown Parking Operations and Maintenance Assessment, schedule public hearing of necessity for September 15, 2021, and approval of the revised parking assessment policy. Mr. Van Beek.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. You will see the mayor just introduced the first item, but we actually have well, you're all veterans now. You've been through this process before. There's 3 in a row here. First with the parking assessment policy, the second with the principal shopping district assessment, and the third with Snowmelt operation and maintenance. And there are a few changes to it this time, which is why it's on the regular agenda. In the past, this quite often would just be on consent agenda to set the public hearing. But I'm going to ask Kara and Amy to come up, and I think maybe the first one, the parking operations, maybe a little bit more explanation, and then they don't have to go over kind of the same explanation with the next 2 after that. So I think Amy, yep, Amy's got the first one, but you both can come up.
We're a team.
You are a great team. They have a lot of fun in the office too. I've been down there several times.
Good evening, team.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. I'm here to talk about the downtown parking operation assessment, maintenance assessment. If you might remember that last year, we actually did a reduction on the assessment. Due to COVID, we did a 5% reduction. This year, we're back to schedule of doing a 3% increase to cover the cost, make sure we have a healthy fund balance there. The other change that we had to do was a change to the policy, and that was precipitated by the passage of UDO. We had to rework the policy because it mentioned the C3 commercial district that has now split into several form-based code districts, so we wanted to make sure we called that out in the policy. And I think you have a copy of that, a marked copy and a clean copy there too. The parking assessment is going to apply this year to 152 properties, and it's going to generate $239,487.28.
Great, thank you. Any questions from council? Yeah, Dave.
Very quickly, you mentioned the reduction last year, 5%, and then this year an increase of 3%. Is that 3% increase above the reduced
Yes.
amount from last year?
Yes.
So we didn't go back up to
We
the
didn't go
original?
back up, no,
Okay.
we did. And usually we do an annual 3% increase, so we'll get back on track after this one, but.
So essentially, we're still at kind of a net
Right, a little bit.
reduction of 2%?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want to report on all of these, Keith, and then we go through and vote one by one?
I think it's probably easier to vote after each one.
Okay, we can do that. What is the pleasure of council in regard to the downtown parking operations and maintenance assessment scheduling of the public hearing?
Everybody's waiting.
We always wait for Mike.
Motion to adopt the recommendation for the assessment roll and scheduling the public hearing for the necessity for Wednesday, September 15, 2021 at 6 p.m. Abbreviated version.
Moved by Trethewey. Is there support?
Support.
I'm going to give that one to Mr. Garcia. Yes, Ron.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to make
Yes.
one clarification. In the recommendation was also adoption of the revised policy. And I wasn't sure if that's part of the motion or if you intended a separate motion.
I revised it too small. Yes, that is part of the motion to policy adjustment necessitated by the adoption of UDO.
Okay, Mr. Garcia, do you support that? All right. Any discussion on the revised motion? Seeing none, Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Peters? Garcia?
Yes.
Trethewey?
Yes.
Arnshorst?
Yes.
Corbin? Hoekstra?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Byrd?
Yes.
Mayor Box?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great, thank you. Mr. Van Beek, Downtown Principal Shopping District Assessment.
The team is now switching.
All right. Just make sure we're maintaining the flow here. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Bex, members of City Council. I am here to represent the Principal Shopping District. For this year's assessment role, we are seeking a return to normal. So last year, we asked Council to approve a 10% reduction in our assessment rate in order to offer some COVID financial relief to our member businesses. And this year, we are asking to a return to our normal assessment rates. Rates are based on square footage of properties. So returning to normal means a 22-cent per square foot assessment on ground floor businesses, 14 cents a square foot on upper levels. That is incorrect in your report. We'll get that corrected. And 14 cents a square foot for basement level retail or restaurant within the core district. Businesses that lay in the outer edges are assessed at a slightly lower rate, as you can see in your report. We've been really pleased this year to be able to return to a lot of our normal activities and events and promotions like Street Performer Series, sidewalk sales. We're in the process of planning for an exciting Fall Fest in October. And along with that, we do need to return to a normal assessment rate to help us fund those events and promotions.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Kara? Yeah, Nikki.
So are all the businesses on board with this? Was it?
Yes, the PSD board did approve a return to the normal rates. I'm sure if you've been downtown this summer, you've seen that it's been a really successful summer for our downtown businesses. We've had great local support, huge increase in visitor traffic, especially over 2020. And yeah, we feel our member businesses will be comfortable with this.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Great, thank you. What is the pleasure of the council in regard to the Downtown Principal Shopping District Assessment?
Move we adopt the recommended resolution.
Moved by Hoekstra. Is there support? Support by Trethewey. Any discussion by council? Seeing none. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Garcia?
Yes.
Trethewey?
Yes.
Arnshorst?
Yes.
Corbin? Hoekstra?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Byrd?
Yes.
Peters? Mayor Box?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great, thank you. And then 3 of 3, Downtown Snowmelt Operation and Maintenance Assessment, tossing it to Mr. Van Beek.
Tossing it to Amy.
All right, thank you.
Basically, again, it's the Snowmelt assessment, operation and maintenance assessment. We did not decrease it in the COVID year, but we did not raise it. Snowmelt generally increases again about 3%. So this year we're asking for a 3% increase in that assessment. And again, we do need to clean up the language in the policy due to UDO. And we just kind of, if you read through the policy, clarified some language in there to make that a little more understandable, and also put in a start date for when places do get snow melt. If it's operating by November 1st, they will be included in that assessment. This year, snow melt, will be added and will be operating by November 1st for the 10th Street reconstruction. And then we had a private parking lot on River Avenue that went onto the city system. So we have right now 710,578 square feet of snowmelt. We will when the 10th Street reconstruction is done. We are exempt on 23,263 square feet, which is covered by policy. That, if you remember, that was back a few years when we did the residential areas, and they are only assessed on their driveway approaches. So the snowmelt assessment is on 687,621 square feet, which is a lot of snowmelt, and that's going to raise a total of $340,220.94.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any questions for Amy? Yes, Quincy.
Yes, on the map here, can you explain exactly, I'm assuming the purple is the snow melt?
Mm-hmm.
What is the aqua or green on the
The
bottom?
green are areas that are snow melted but are not on the city system yet.
Okay,
So they're still run from private boilers, so they don't get assessed.
got it. All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Yes, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, out of curiosity, we raise kind of a similar amount, give or take, every year by these assessments. Do you have a sense of how we're using those funds? I mean, are we generally using that amount of money every year, or over a course of several years that those funds are being used? You know, I know it's, and I'm not casting dispersion on anyone, it's easy to have a policy that says we're going to raise it by a certain percentage. I'm just curious if we're taking harder looks at what the actual operational costs are, and if, I mean, maybe our assessments aren't even enough. Do you have a sense of that?
The assessment includes the operating and maintenance, but it also includes a payback for the capital costs of installing and running the snowmelt. So we have a long chart that takes us through, I believe, 2040, and shows each incremental increase in the snowmelt finally to a point where we can start balancing it out and lowering it.
So in other words, you're light years ahead of us on that.
Well, what we raise,
That's
we
what I wanted to
use.
know.
Yeah, right, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? What is the pleasure of council in regard to the downtown snowmelt operation and maintenance assessment?
Motion to adopt to the scheduling of the public hearing for the downtown snowmelt operation and maintenance for September 15, 2020 at 6 p.m. And also accept the revision of this downtown snowmelt operation and maintenance assessment necessitated by the adoption of the UDO.
Thank you for that very clear, concise, and complete motion. Is there support?
Support?
Support by Aaronshorst. Any discussion? Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Trethewey,
Yes.
Aaronshorst,
Yes.
Corbin, Hoekstra,
Yes.
Raymond,
Yes.
Byrd,
Yes.
Peters, Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Thank you very much. Item 12E 6.5, Management and Administrative Services, Waterfront Holland Implementation, Phases 4 and 5, Request for Proposal Process. Mr. Van Beek.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. This probably will look very familiar because this was on your study session agenda last week. The first part on that study session was bringing you up to date where we are in that overall process, which was very exciting news, at least I think, staff thinks, in that we had 3 firms that completed the RFQ process, the request for qualifications. And those firms, after a thorough review of lots of information, including interviews, moved all 3 of those firms on to the RFP stage, which is the stage where all 3 of those firms are invited to continue in the process and propose and develop and turn in eventually for a much more thorough analysis their potential projects that would advance the Waterfront Holland process that we've been in now for several years. So that's helpful context. The matter that's before you this evening is specifically approving a request for services with the consultants that we've had that have done, in our opinion, great work to this date. And that includes both Hitchcock Design Group and SB Friedman. And they have helped us not only with constructing the process that we've gone through, but constructing the RFQ, RFP. And as outlined in the document, now what they would do is they would answer any questions, facilitate any questions from the 3 qualified firms. And then eventually in January of next year, when the proposals are due, they will help assist us in doing a very thorough analysis of all of those proposals, financial from a planning perspective, and then of course, very key from how it fits with the framework that the community helped us so wonderfully with in putting the Waterfront Holland process in front of us. So what you have in front of you is the request and the recommendation from staff to authorize the proposal from the consultants to continue with the Waterfront Holland process.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Van Beek? Seeing none, what is the pleasure of council in regard to the Waterfront Holland request for proposal process? Moved by Peters. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Hoekstra. Any discussion? Seeing none, Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Arnshorst? Yes. Corbin?
Yes.
Hoekstra?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Byrd?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Trethewey?
Yes.
Mayor Box?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great, thank you, Kathy. Item 13, communications from the city manager. Mr. Van Beek.
Yes, I'm sensing a momentum, so I will keep it going. Just one quick item for you all tonight. In my weekly communications to you, you'll see that the events on the bottom of that email for so many months during COVID were almost non-existent because there just were not those community events. And you will see that that list is getting longer and longer and longer these days. So I'd encourage you to take a look at those, attend those that you're able to. I want to call particular attention though, and if you ever have any questions, if it's something you need to sign up for or not, just let us know. And through primarily Cinca, but obviously to myself also. But we do have an event next week that does require registration, and it's the Community Foundation event, their Celebration of Philanthropy, I think it's called. And we do have a few slots yet available. So take a look at that, and if you'd like to attend, spots are going quickly, so you might want to register with Cinca soon, but there are a few slots available yet. And that's it.
Great, thank you very much. Item 14, mayoral appointment and resignation to city boards and commissions. I do just have one this evening. I am asking the City Council to accept the appointment of Jennifer Orm as the City Manager Designee to the Planning Commission with a term expiring. That can't be correct.
It actually is because, I shouldn't interrupt. It
Yes.
actually is.
Oh, it is. Okay.
November they come available, but we were looking to make this change anyway, so it just gives you one more thing to approve.
Okay, I was gonna say, I misread that. I was thinking that Andy was not leaving until November, but Andy's leaving right away. Okay. So she's going to be filling out the remainder of Andy Kenyon's term, which expires November 2021, and accept with regret the resignation of Andy Kenyon from the Planning Commission effective immediately. If I'd read to the end of that sentence, I would have known that. What is the pleasure of council in regard to this recommendation?
It's an epidemic up here, not
It
reading
is.
through everything. So moved.
Moved by Trethewey. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Hoekstra. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, can
Oh,
I
yes.
just want to say that I've been on the planning commission for about 3 years, and Andy's been on the commission the entire time. And I've so enjoyed working with him. Jennifer will be terrific on planning commission, I'm sure, but I just wanted to say that Andy's knowledge and experience was so valuable to the planning commission, and we'll miss him on that.
Yeah, great. Thank you, and I apologize for not giving you the opportunity to do that prior to the vote. I should have done that. Anyone else? Otherwise, we will move on to item number 15, appointments, motions, and communications from council members. Any communications from council members this evening? Yes, Mr. Trethewey.
I'm going to pull a city manager here. I have 3 things. First of all, surprise, surprise, the truck parade coming up this coming Monday. 9:15 starts in Zeeland, wanders down through Zeeland, eventually gets to Chicago Drive through the, how did Dale call those, roundies? And ending up here at the Civic Center. At this point, we have 65 trucks of all various shapes and sizes. Come one, come all. There will be ice cream. And there'll be a good time. And we're also watching the CDC recommendations. We're just asking people to use a little common sense. If you're not vaccinated, have your mask on, keep your social distancing, especially at the Civic Center parking lot. And it will be a great time had by all. That's Labor Day, this coming Monday, starting at 9:15. Should be at the Civic Center, if I can get the trucks moving fast enough, by about 10 o'clock we'll have everything parked. So come one, come all. The second thing being is this past Saturday at 3 p.m., a very warm softball game was had by the Holland Department of Public Safety, the Police Department, and the Fire Department. As tradition would have it, and this is nothing to be said for the Fire Department, but the Police Department was victorious in a grand way, shall I say. It was absolutely fantastic to see that. It's been since 2008. It used to be called Guns and Hoses, and 2008 was the last time they had it, and that typically was on Labor Day. So we went to the truck parade in the morning and went to the ball game in the afternoon. Just a fantastic day. But the biggest recipient was that of Shields of Hope, excuse me, a nonprofit that is put on by the public safety departments for cancer victims. They were presented a check for over $16,000. So that was a very great day, a great time, and a lot of people were out there. So thank you for that. Thank you for public safety for putting that on again. And my final thing, in talking to one of the officers there on Saturday, he brought to my attention, and I forwarded it on to council, but I want the public to know about it. Friday, September 3rd at 11 a.m. at Central Wesleyan Church, there is going to be a motivational speaker, Damon West, who is Damon West, MS criminal justice college professor, a nationally known keynote speaker. We were very lucky to get him. He happened to be in Chicago, and he was coming up this way. This man's story, he thought he had everything, got involved in drugs and a number of not so good things, turned his life around when he was in prison. He actually had some concurrent sentences going on, but was able to turn it around and get to where he's at right now. So if you have the chance, it's free, open to the public, 11 a.m. at Central Wesleyan Church, Friday, September 3. Damon West, come and listen to what he has to say. I think you'll be very, very impressed. That is all.
Great, thank you, Mike. Quincy.
I only have 2 things, so I won't be like Keith or Mike. So I didn't say this last Wednesday, but, well, it wasn't a public meeting last Wednesday, but August 20th, we had our fireworks. And glad we got to have fireworks this year. Last year we were not able to, as everyone knows. This year it was pushed off beyond 4th of July, so that's the August 20th date. And so that was an awesome thing. Second thing I wanted to say is I'm a veteran, and when I signed up to go into the military, one of the things that I signed up to do was, along with everything, was to die for my country. I'm thankful that never happened, and I say this because we just had 13 members of our service who just died over in Afghanistan, and they paid the ultimate price, knowing when they signed their name on that line that they could lose their life. And that's exactly what happened. They lost their life. And I just want to remember them. And, you know, I know we have people who die in wars and military exercises, but there was something, for me, this was a little bit different. I know we have different political views, different ideologies in this country, and as you said in your prayer, Mayor, we in a sense are in a really divided time. But regardless of where you stand, regardless of how you feel, if we should have been out of Afghanistan a long time ago, or we should have never pulled out of Afghanistan, I think these 13 people really deserve to be honored. And to me, that's a big deal. So I wanted to take this time to honor them in one of the ways that I felt I could do that. And never forget them. And then, you know, there are other people over there as well, but I won't get into all of that. I just want to focus on these 13 individuals and bring that to our attention, as well as people in the community.
Great. Thank you, Quincy. Anyone else? With that, there is one final motion that I will accept at this time.
Motion to adjourn.
Moved by Trethewey. Is there support? Support by Peters. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.